Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Panchapakeshan from Delhi. I retired from Delhi University and I have taught this course many times. Today we are going to discuss the second module of this course, which is titled Symmetries and Conservation Laws. And this whole course is of course called the Radiation Theory course, and this is module number 2, which is Symmetries and Conservation Laws. From this module, students will get to know about the following. They will know what are symmetries, space-time symmetries or internal symmetries. They will also learn how symmetries of the Lagrangian lead to what are called conservation laws, like symmetry with respect to time leads to energy conservation. Symmetry with respect to space leads to momentum conservation, and so on. Symmetry or invariance of action under space translation leads to momentum conservation. And there is a theorem called Noether's theorem, which puts this whole thing in a formal way and makes it very convenient to derive from invariance to a conservation law. Invariance under time translation leads to energy conservation. Invariance under rotation will lead to angular momentum conservation, and we learn to formulate these laws in terms of the second and third order tensors. We will also learn what is the differential conservation law and how it leads to a conserved quantity like energy or angular momentum, or later on we will see even charge. Emmy Noether, a woman mathematician, discovered a deep connection between symmetries obeyed by the action integral and conservation laws of any dynamical system. She did this during the years of 1915 to 1918, which followed the formulation of the general theory of relativity by Einstein. And Emmy Noether, a woman who was not even appointed a teacher, contributed tremendously to this area of mathematics and physics. Conservation laws for energy momentum, angular momentum are important examples of her idea. Now the whole thing is put under the name of Noether's theorem. She used the principle of stationary action, which was used to derive the equations of motion, to also derive the conservation laws. She calculated the change of action introduced by the variation in a variable like space-time and equated it to 0. This led to a total derivative being 0 and led to the conservation laws. This is called a differential conservation law. This leads further to a conserved quantity, which is usually called a conserved charge, which is sometimes also called a Noether charge. They lead to two types of conservation laws. One is usually called the differential conservation law, and the other is called the integral conservation law. We will derive the differential conservation law first. They can be obtained by dealing with the invariance of the action integral under variation of some variables like the field or the coordinates. They can also be obtained more simply by dealing with the variation in the Lagrangian only. We first consider the Lagrangian of the fields phi a. The Lagrangian is denoted by L, which is a function of phi 4 and d mu phi a, actually a functional, and consider the change in the Lagrangian, which we denote by delta L. This change is because the phi a changes to phi a plus delta phi a, and delta of d mu phi a is taken as d mu of delta phi a, that is the commute, d mu and the delta commute, when L has no x mu coordinate dependence. Delta L, the variation in Lagrangian, is given by delta L delta phi 4 into delta phi a, and d mu phi a into delta of d mu phi a, because the two variables are phi a and d mu phi a. This is equal to, the first term is just as it is, but the second term can be split into two terms by using integration by parts, like we've always done earlier also. So this gives the total derivative, which is d mu of dl d mu phi a into delta phi a minus a term d mu of dl d mu phi a multiplied by delta of phi a. So the first two terms, rather the first three terms, the negative term and the first term, cancel because of the Euler-Lagrange equations of motion, and we are left with only one term, which is d mu of d mu phi a of the Lagrangian multiplied by delta phi a. If delta L is 0 or known, equation 3.1 will give us a conservation law. Translation is the first case where we consider this Noether's theorem. We apply this method in the case of translation. Physical observation of an isolated system yields the same result when you observe it in Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai or anywhere. Wherever you do an experiment, the results don't change depending upon which geographical location you have. This is called the space translation symmetry or invariance under space translation. In the same way, when you perform the experiment, when the sun is on top of the sky or when it is set and it is night, is not relevant for the observation of a result. This is invariance under time translation in 4-vector notation, and we can combine both the symmetries under one symmetry and call them symmetry under space-time translation. And translation means shifting the coordinate system by a vector which may be denoted by a mu, whose first component is time and the other three are space components. Thus, x mu going to x mu plus a mu, and the change in Lagrangian is delta L is equal to a mu into d mu of L. We of course assume a mu is a small quantity, much smaller than 1, so that we can neglect the higher orders of a mu. Using Taylor expansion and keeping only the first order term, we also change similarly the field phi a due to translation, and delta phi a is equal to a mu d phi a dx mu, which is equal to a mu d phi dx a in our notation. Using these expressions in equation 1, we have a mu d mu of L, a mu d mu of L is equal to d mu d mu phi a of L into a lambda d lambda phi a. Now, since a lambda is arbitrary, we can take the coefficient of it is equal to 0. So this gives us d mu capital T mu lambda and mu below in the denominator equal to 0, where the new quantity defined capital T mu lambda is dl d mu phi a multiplied by d lambda below phi a minus g mu lambda Lagrangian L. T mu lambda is called the energy momentum tensor density. Summation over the repeated index A is also implied, because if you have several fields, you have to sum over all the different fields. Equation 3.2, namely d mu T mu lambda mu equal to 0, is called the energy momentum tensor density, and equation 3.2 is a differential conservation law. But because it says the covariant differentiation of a particular quantity is 0. The conserved quantity is the space integral, which we can call capital P mu, and it is integral of T0 mu over the volume d cubed x. We take only the T0 muth component of the energy momentum tensor density, and this is equal to d cubed x pi a d mu phi a minus g0 mu L, the Lagrangian, which is the conserved energy momentum vector. P0 is equal to d cubed x integral pi a d0 phi a minus L, the Lagrangian. This is equal to d cubed x integrated over the Hamiltonian, which is the total Hamiltonian. The script Hamiltonian is usually called the Hamiltonian density, and when you integrate it over the total volume, it gives us the total Hamiltonian, where of course we have used the fact that pi a is d naught phi a of the Lagrangian, or we can also write it as d naught phi a with 0 on top of the Lagrangian, because d with 0 below and d with 0 above are the same in our metric. They don't change sign, whereas the di changes sign. To see this another way, we write using equation 3.2 as d dt of p mu, the time derivative of p mu, is equal to integral over d cubed x d0 t mu 0, which is equal to minus d cubed x d dxk of t mu k, which is equal to minus d cubed x of delta k t mu k equal to 0. Or if you use Gauss's theorem, this is converted into a surface integral. So it is minus times surface integral of dsi over t mu I. This is equal to 0 as all the fields vanish at the boundary. The pk are three components of the total momentum of the field. Pk can be written as integral over d cubed x of tk0, which is equal to d cubed x dl d phi into dk of phi, which can also be written as minus d cubed x pi into divergence of k of phi. All this can be put in a general framework by discussing the idea of Noether's theorem, which was first given by the famous mathematician, physicist, women physicist, Emmy Noether. The integral using action can be written as S equal to integral over d4x L phi d mu phi, and let the variation take the form x mu goes to x mu prime, which is equal to x mu plus delta x mu. Or in other words, the increase in x mu is by a quantity delta x mu. Phi x goes to phi prime x, which is phi x plus delta phi x, all at the same point. Let L depend explicitly on x mu. This implies interaction with an external source. And we find if we define phi prime x prime as phi x plus delta phi x at different points, delta phi x can also be written as phi prime x prime minus phi of x prime plus phi of x prime minus phi of x. So we have added, since we want the difference of the function at points x and x prime, we have introduced the other function phi x prime, so that we can now write the delta of phi x as the curly delta of phi x prime plus d mu phi delta x mu, which is equal to delta phi x plus d mu phi of delta x mu to the first order in delta x. The variation in action delta s is given by d4 of x prime integral Lagrangian minus d4x integral Lagrangian of phi d mu phi and x mu. So this is the difference of integral of the Lagrangian phi prime at x prime and the integral of the Lagrangian at phi and x. The functional form of L does not change. Now d4x prime is equal to the Jacobian of x prime by x into d4x, where Jacobian of x prime by x denoted by j is of course the Jacobian of the transformation when x goes to x prime. As x prime mu is equal to x mu plus delta x mu, dx prime dx lambda is equal to delta mu lambda plus d lambda of delta x mu. So the Jacobian of x prime x is equal to determinant of d dx lambda of x prime mu, which is equal to 1 plus d mu delta x mu. Hence delta x is equal to delta L plus L d mu delta x mu d4x, where delta s is equal to, again in the same form, we do an integration by parts and end up with the equation, the delta is equal to dl by d phi minus d mu dl d mu phi, whole thing multiplied by delta phi integrated over d4x, plus a second integral which is dl by d mu phi delta phi plus L into delta of x mu, the whole thing multiplied by d sigma of mu. The first integral is a volume integral over the whole volume, while the second is a surface integral over the boundary of the volume. The vanishing of the variation over the boundary makes the second integral vanish, leading to Euler-Lagrange equations. In our case, the variation does not vanish on the boundary. If variation keeps Euler-Lagrange equations unchanged, when the first integral vanishes, we have delta s is given by this d mu phi of the Lagrangian multiplied by delta phi plus d lambda phi delta x lambda minus d mu phi of Lagrangian multiplied by d lambda phi minus delta mu lambda L multiplied by delta x lambda delta sigma mu, where we have added and subtracted the two terms d mu phi of Lagrangian into d lambda phi delta x lambda. Hence, we can write the delta s as integral over d sigma mu into dl by d mu phi into delta phi minus theta mu lambda delta x lambda, where theta lambda is defined as dl by d mu phi dl phi minus delta mu lambda lambda into Lagrangian. And delta phi has been defined earlier in equation 4.1. If the variation specified by the infinitesimal parameter a mu and s is invariant, that is, the delta s or the action does not change when we introduce this parameter a mu, such that delta phi is equal to phi nu into a nu and delta x lambda is equal to a nu, then delta s is equal to 0 gives us the integral over d4x of d mu j mu nu into a nu, where j mu nu is d mu phi of Lagrangian into phi nu minus theta mu nu. As the volume and a nu are arbitrary, we get the differential conservation law, which is d mu of j mu nu is equal to 0. As before, q mu is equal to d cubed x integrated over j nu 0. This is conserved in time, and dq nu dt is equal to 0. We apply this to translation and rotation. Translation invariance, we can take the infinitesimal translation in space and time as delta x mu is equal to a mu. We take phi mu equal to 0, assuming there is no variation in phi. Then j mu nu is equal to minus theta mu nu, and ddt is equal to, and ddt into integral of d cubed x theta 0 nu is equal to 0 is the energy momentum conservation law. We can apply it to the classical scalar field Lagrangian, where the Lagrangian is d mu phi minus m squared phi squared, whole thing multiplied by half. And we get for the energy momentum tensor, theta mu nu is equal to d mu phi of the Lagrangian into d lambda phi minus delta mu lambda L, which is equal to d mu phi into d nu phi minus g mu nu L, which leads to the value for theta mu nu with mu nu on top as d mu phi d nu phi minus g mu nu into L. This is the expression for the energy momentum tensor. This is symmetric in mu and nu. If it were not symmetric, we can make it symmetric by the addition of the term d lambda f lambda mu nu, where f lambda mu nu is antisymmetric in the indices mu and lambda, so that it is equal to minus f mu lambda nu, so that d mu d lambda f lambda mu nu is equal to 0. We can choose a new energy momentum tensor d mu nu such that it is symmetric. It obeys d mu t mu nu is equal to 0 by construction. Show that the total form momentum is same as the additional part vanishes. Rotational invariance and Lorentz transformation. Doing a similar kind of thing, we can deal with the rotation also. The rotation in space-time diagram is usually called the boost and refers to the change in velocity of a moving particle. We get the conserved tensor for delta phi equal to 0. Hence, delta S is given as d sigma mu into minus t mu lambda delta x lambda, where we have used t mu lambda instead of theta mu lambda. Delta S is equal to integral over d sigma mu of minus t mu lambda into epsilon lambda nu into x nu, which is equal to 0. As the parameter epsilon lambda nu is arbitrary in strength, the coefficient is conserved. The conserved current is given by capital J with the upper symbols mu lambda sigma, which is equal to minus half t mu lambda upstairs into x sigma minus t mu sigma upstairs into x lambda, all symbols upstairs. The mu equal to 0 component of this tensor is the angular momentum tensor density of the field. It is the angular momentum tensor density of the field. We take j mu lambda sigma equal to minus t mu rho into g rho lambda into x sigma, which is equal to minus t mu lambda x sigma. To make this antisymmetric in lambda sigma, we write it as script m 0 lambda sigma is equal to d cubed x into t0 lambda x sigma minus t0 sigma x lambda. Differential conservation implies 0 is equal to d mu of m mu lambda sigma, which is equal to d mu of t mu lambda x sigma minus t mu sigma x lambda. Using d mu of t mu lambda is equal to 0 and d mu of x sigma is equal to g sigma mu, this is equal to t sigma lambda minus t lambda sigma, or t sigma lambda is equal to t lambda sigma. So conservation of angular momentum tensor requires energy momentum tensor to be symmetric. This is why we discussed earlier in the last sections how to make the energy momentum tensor symmetric by adding a suitable term. Angular momentum can also be derived using just the Lagrangian instead of the action. If there is invariance under Lorentz transformation, rotation is generalized to 4 dimensions as delta x mu equal to epsilon mu nu x nu, where epsilon mu nu is antisymmetric and is equal to minus epsilon nu mu. Delta phi is epsilon mu nu x nu d mu phi x. We find the changes in the Lagrangian in 2 different ways and equate them. Delta L is given by epsilon mu nu x nu into d mu lambda, which is equal to dl d phi delta phi plus dl d mu phi delta d mu phi, which is equal to d mu of the whole expression d mu phi L into delta phi. Using the Euler-Lagrange equations, we are left with d mu is equal to d mu phi of L into epsilon mu nu into x nu into d mu into phi x. Equating the coefficients of x mu nu on both sides as earlier, we get the angular momentum tensor. Let there be 2 independent fields phi 1 and phi 2. The Lagrangian for the complex scalar field is d mu phi star minus m squared phi star phi, where phi is a complex field and is equal to phi 1 plus I phi 2 divided by square root of 2. L is invariant under phi. Under the transformation, phi goes to exponential minus I lambda into phi. That is, the phase of the phi changes by a quantity lambda. Phi star goes to exponential plus I lambda into phi. Lambda is the real constant. This is called gauge transformation of the first kind. Its infinitesimal form is delta phi is equal to minus I lambda phi, and the delta phi star is plus I lambda into phi star. Here terms of the higher order in lambda are neglected because lambda is a small quantity. And delta of d mu phi is equal to minus I lambda d mu phi, and delta of d mu phi star is equal to I lambda d mu phi star. We have no involvement with space-time so far, so these changes are purely what we call internal. Using equation 4.3, with no change in space-time, delta x lambda equal to 0, the conserved current for invariance under the internal continuous transformation is given by a current capital J mu, which is equal to d mu phi of the Lagrangian multiplied by minus I phi plus d mu phi of the Lagrangian multiplied by plus I phi star. So the J mu then reduces to I into phi star d mu phi minus phi d mu phi star. And the quantity the derivative d mu j mu is 0. And q, the integral over j0 dr is then conserved. This is proportional to the charge q equal to 0. For phi real, that is for the real scalar field, q will be 0. So if you have only a real scalar field, there is no charge. But if you have a complex scalar field, then you have a charge. Geometric form. The Lagrangian is now given by half d mu phi 1 into d mu phi 2 into d mu phi 2 minus m squared phi 1 squared plus phi 2 squared. Now we have expanded the whole phi in terms of phi 1 and phi 2. So all these phi 1 and phi 2 fields are single fields. They are not double fields like the complex field. Phi is phi 1 I vector plus phi 2 j vector. In this case, the Lagrangian can also be written as d mu phi vector into d mu phi vector minus m squared phi vector into m squared phi vector. Phi goes to phi prime with a phase change exponential minus I lambda becomes phi 1 prime plus I phi 2 prime is exponential minus I lambda into phi 1 plus I phi 2. The complex conjugate can also be written down, and adding these two equations, twice phi 1 prime is given in terms of phi 1, phi 2, lambda, etc. And phi 1 prime then becomes phi 1 cos lambda plus phi 2 sin lambda. Phi 2 prime becomes minus phi 1 sin lambda plus phi 2 cos lambda as given in the equation 5.5. This is nothing but rotation by angle lambda in the plane 1, 2, the plane of phi 1 and phi 2. And rotations form a group which is usually called SO2 group. Also, as EI lambda is unitary, EI lambda dagger into EI lambda is equal to 1, and this group is called U1. The group space O2 is a circle of phi and phi plus 2 pi, and so on, phi plus 2n pi, and phi plus 2n pi are the same. for U1 is a group of all members of the form exponential I alpha is equal to cos alpha plus I sin alpha, a familiar form in complex variables. As cos squared alpha plus sin squared alpha is equal to 1, group space is a circle. When lambda is constant, it is called the global gauge transformation. If lambda x mu becomes a function of space-time, then we have a local gauge transformation called transformation of a second kind, which we will consider later. Students, let us summarize what we have learnt in this module. In this module, we have learnt about an important theorem called Noether's theorem. The theorem relates a symmetry or an invariance under a variation to a conservation law. Translation symmetry or invariance under shift of the origin of the coordinate system is called translation symmetry. This leads to the conservation of energy and momentum of the whole system if the coordinate system includes time also. Conservation of angular momentum is ensured by rotational symmetry, and the invariance under rotational symmetry leads to conservation of angular momentum. We proved these conservation laws by equating to 0 the change in the Lagrangian or the change in the action. The algebra involved integration by parts and also meant using the Gauss's theorem, and the differential conservation law then led to an integral conservation law or a conservation of the charge. We also found that conservation of angular momentum requires the energy momentum tensor to be symmetric in its indices. We learned how to make it symmetric without changing the other properties of the system. Thank you so much. These are very important things, and I hope you'll be able to get familiar with them very soon. Thank you.